We've got Chris on technical, Neil on insight, and Steve in the driving seat. It's Talking Formula One.
Hello and welcome to Talking Formula One. We are back after a week or so away. How are you doing, Chris?
All good. How are you?
Good, yeah, not too bad, thank you. Wondering what the hell we're going to do in a 5-week break. That's not going to be fun.
No, it's not. You're right.
What makes it even better is we've got a 5-week break, then it's Miami, then it's another 3-week break.
Yeah. Trump's done us a good one.
Yeah. Cheers, DJT.
So not only we got a 5-week break, we've got the worst race of the year to end it, and then we had 3 weeks to sit and think about it.
I know. We could have picked any other race to have at this part of the calendar. You know, we could have had a Silverstone, we could have had an Austria or something, but no, we've got Miami in the.
Shows how much of
after 5 weeks, I've been watching Formula One so much. I probably appreciate Miami.
Yeah, shows how much of a sore thumb that Miami is. Really, that they shoehorn it in here. At a random time, really, just so it spreads out the American races, and no one wants it.
Yeah, incredible. Are you quite surprised that they didn't, sort of fill the gap with a couple of other races, sort of like they did, obviously the COVID calendar, we had so many cancelled races.
Yeah.
A number of tracks filled the gap. Are you quite surprised they didn't do that with, any other circuit around?
I think just logistically getting everything where they need to be. It was impossible. Also, I think F1 cancelled the Grand Prix, so it would be them who don't get the money. So if Saudi or Bahrain cancelled them, they would still have to pay F1, the X $1 million for hosting. But because F1, I think, cancelled it, because a lot of stuff's still going on in the Middle East. There's horse racing and all sorts going on still over there. They're still cracking on like nothing's happening. So.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that they couldn't fill in this one. I mean, obviously they could have looked somewhere in Miami, maybe do a makeshift, North American race somewhere or something near Miami. But I don't know the logistics, how easy it is to organise these sort of things. I assume it's not very. And then you got who wants to pay, or no circuit will really pay for it, would they? They'd want F1 to bail them out and pay for it all. And they're losing a lot of money as it is.
They could have had 2 Grand Prix in Miami. Very true.
But they've been talking about maybe possibly scrapping the 3-week break. Is it October? The last 3-week break really end, putting in a race or 2 in there, because that will logistically be a lot easier, because you've got 6 to 8 months to plan that, so you can probably fit another race in there to make up the calendar a little bit. But we're just going to have to sit and suffer, unfortunately, the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And sitting here, how much engine improvements need to be made, and blah blah, and how much mushroom power or whatever, go karting.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously coming just after the Japanese Grand Prix, won by Kimi Antonelli. So Kimi makes it 2 wins out of 3. He's taken the lead of the championship. He's the youngest person ever to lead the Formula One World Championship. He is a pretty formidable contender in this now, isn't he? He's not there to play second fiddle to George. A lot of people wrote him off and said, George is going to walk this.
As I put in the chat, as I think I remember, one of my bold predictions, my 3 bold predictions, was Antonelli to beat Russell this season. He's had the start that he needs for that to happen. So I always thought very much he always takes a year or 2 to get into F1. Partly I don't really like George Russell, as most people probably already know. So I'm happy to take him on with anybody. But he seemed to got a little bit of luck at the Antonelli. He's going to swing around. He's going to get his fair share of bad luck, which actually you could say is bad luck come when it starts. He's had 3 pretty much terrible Grand Prix starts in a row.
Yeah,
a lot of wheel speed in Japan. It wasn't even the engine; it was wheel speed, pure wheel speed. It was so much wheel speed that the tyres were smoking. Done him. So he was quicker than George the whole weekend. So He wasn't all right fortuitous with the safety car, but I think he thoroughly deserved a win. If I'm honest, he was quicker than George, quickest driver all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, apart from very, very disappointed for Piastri. You know, it was the first race of the season Piastri actually got to start, and he found himself with a very good chance of until the safety car, which we would obviously come on to that. But yeah, obviously Piastri lucked out on that, or didn't get the luck on that one. Antonelli did, but it's fully deserving. You know, he'd driven very well all weekend, apart from that start. And George is, miserable post-race because, they got screwed by the safety car. So did other people, so did other teams.
It was the first time this season in 3 races that we saw a slight vulnerability in Mercedes. They did struggle. I thought, Russell would breeze up behind Leclerc, overtake him and then get into Piastri. But it just never happened. I know they were talking about he had some slight deployment issues when Leclerc overtook him. And he was struggling with understeer.
Yeah.
But it was the first time that we saw that car wasn't the rocket ship in traffic. When Antonelli was clear, obviously he put a fair gap on everybody. But that old thing being stuck behind the car in front came back.
Yeah, and he was stuck. And the amount of yo-yo passes we saw because someone's overtaken and he's just gone straight back. And all this. These overtakes.
That was the first highlight we had. We had a little bit in Melbourne with the straight into the chicane and then the straight afterwards. But this was the first proper indication of when you've got two straights effectively close to each other, where one car uses the boost in one straight but has no power for the second, and then you just get it was just a pointless. The first pass effectively becomes pointless.
We saw that so much, didn't we? Through the 130R, which the amount of lift off through the 130R as well was absolutely pathetic. First move done into the chicane, brilliant. So and so's got past, and then down towards turn 1 again. Oh no, he's got him right back. We saw it so many times up and down the field. The only time I saw a driver try it repeatedly that couldn't make it work was Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, which looked awful this weekend. He was out in Q2. He got out qualified by Hadjar. Hadjar had a poor start, and he got hurt during the race. And just the Red Bull was absolutely nowhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Red Bull it's an interesting beast at the minute, isn't it? You can't say the engine's not that slow because the racing bulls are on par with them in terms of. So you then look, well, that's aerodynamically. If your racing bulls are on par, then aerodynamically you haven't created a better car than your junior team. So there's multiple problems. Obviously, the engine is a little bit down, but they just can't seem to get everything right. They're having a lot of reliability as well, especially on Hadjar's car. And it's just it's interesting when you think, actually, it's not. If you thought their problems would be all... Hello, Neil.
Hello.
Neil.
You thought all their problems would be... Where is talk? Hello, Neil. You there?
I am.
You look like he froze on my screen.
Oh.
There you go.
You were talking about Red Bull and racing bulls.
We all thought it'd be engine. I thought it'd be like a Honda style or a Cadillac style where... Well, not like Cadillac's Ferrari, but the Honda engine, which would be a bag of biscuits, and they'll be struggling. But actually, it's more the whole round package that they're struggling with.
The Ford or Red Bull powertrains engine as package doesn't actually seem too bad.
No, for a first out the box effort, it's actually it's passable, isn't it? It's a little bit slow compared to the Ferrari and Mercedes, but it wouldn't say it's majorly.
No. But to be fair, from what's come out recently, the Honda isn't as terrible as people are making out either. The whole vibrations doesn't happen.
It got to the end of the race.
Yeah, it doesn't happen on the rig or anywhere else. Just once it's put in that chassis.
Could it be a new issue?
Which, to be fair, we're not. I wouldn't be surprised because obviously we know Adrian Newey packages things so tightly, that. It's always them fine tolerances that obviously Honda and they haven't quite got together with, and things are rubbing, things are vibrating what shouldn't be, and it's whoever yields on that really. And you think it'll have to be the aerodynamic side, it'll have to yield, wouldn't it? Because you can't really change much of the engine that way.
No, they've got a lot of work to do.
Work together, mate. Work together.
So I'm going to mute my mic with everyone because my son's screaming.
What did I miss at the start? What did you boys talk about?
We were talking about obviously the Japanese Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli.
The 8 week break with one shocking race in between.
That was another thing that came out. Aston Martin did add some parts to their car, and they're now got a lot of time to analyse what they learnt from them.
They got the chance to finish the race. I mean, the 5 week break here is going to be really beneficial, isn't it, for some teams, namely Aston Martin. I can think of Williams as well. Both of whom people had very high expectations of at the start of the season, who have been absolutely atrocious. Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz again not happy. So there's a lot of time between now and Miami for those sort of teams to really work out their issues.
If it wasn't for a safety car, Piastri could have won every race he started this season.
Yeah. Yeah, we did mention that as well. They had very good chances to win that race.
Japan, I don't think he would have won Japan. I think Kimi was quick, and I think Kimi would have overtaken them all on track anyway.
You think he?
Well, I don't know,
where was he not
Russell,
struggling? Where
he didn't really pass.
Yeah, where Russell was struggling.
Yeah, but he was, as I say, he was 2 or 3 tenths quicker a lap than Russell all weekend. I think he just had it. He was just better, and when he went back to 6th, he did make moves. He did, it would have been a lot longer than what we've been used to. But I think he would have definitely, with a little tyre offset they had as well. I think he definitely would have won the race, wherever it may. I think.
So I'm just.
It seems strange that whoever was out front
Sorry,
just used their battery pack in the right places, and it just seems strange that George couldn't just romp away like Kimi did, and just have it the batteries.
So, there's a cynic in me sometimes. I do sometimes think that if as Kimi was leading the race, Mercedes almost sacrificed George's race to make them not look that quick, because everybody's trying to make them slower in terms of the ICE department. And if they keep going out and winning by 15, 20 seconds, the FIA is only ever going to really pull back their engine. And sometimes I think, do they deliberately put a little bit deployment issues into George's car just to make it look like they aren't all that? That's my cynical view, anyway.
That's the thing. Bar what I mentioned to you guys about Leclerc and the whole, correcting a slide and the whole, recharging and discharging of the battery pack and all of the shenanigans that go on with it. Other than how the drivers drive their 2 cars, McLaren and Mercedes both have the same power unit, so it just goes down to driving style and how they can deploy it and charge it up.
I read an article a few weeks back that was it. Well, I don't know how true it was, or whether it was just someone just writing a load of rubbish, but it was obviously Mercedes have been involved in Formula E a long time, and Toto Wolff especially was one of the main protagonists to making this type of engine. And they were saying that they found a lot of stuff out in Formula E that they thought they could put into F1 and have an advantage. And it's all come a little bit to fruition now that they have got quite a sizable advantage when it comes to the power unit.
I'm not sure what software there is, but it seemed crazy with the article I read about Leclerc, and once he lifted off the throttle, corrected a slide, and the whole, rather than the electric motor permanently be charging up from the motion, it had to do a reset so that meant it wasn't charging up the battery and things. Yeah, obviously, if Mercedes have got that area right and are not having the same issues, there's a lot to gain there.
I just hate these engines. Same, absolutely hate them. Didn't want them. The electric should be anywhere near Formula 1.
And talking of which, one of the biggest talking points to come out of the Japanese Grand Prix was, of course, the Ollie Behrman crash. 50G impacts because he was caught out by the insane closing speed following Colapinto that left him spinning very quickly on the grass into the barrier. A lot of criticisms about these engines that have come out. Well, there was a lot of criticisms anyway about them, but even more so after Japan with the difference in the closing speed. And people have said about it before. That I can't remember who it was, but someone said about Monaco being very, very dangerous because or circuits with blind corners. If you're going to catch a car with insane closing speed that catches you out in Monaco, you've just got barriers. There's no runoff at all. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Because obviously it was dangerous, and it could have been a lot worse. He was lucky to get out with just a bruised knee. But there's been a lot of criticism about this.
For me, it just comes down to I don't like these regulations at all. The whole 50-50, you can't hold the button all the way down the straight and still have charge out the other side. It's not having that as an issue is just pathetic. I don't know if it was a deployment issue with that team or whether he made a mistake in order to not have the charge he needed. I don't fully know the ins and outs, but to have a situation where that could arise is just ridiculous. I know some things have been said in Colapinto's favour because I felt that he defended a bit too much for the situation, but he's sort of been cleared of all wrongdoing, and it's just comes down to the ridiculous regulations.
I don't think Colapinto's really at fault. I mean, he put his car defensively, which more than entitled to do. We've seen it happen a lot. But it's just, the closing speed, because the lack of charge, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And we saw footage of cars going down the back straight, approaching 130R, already laying off the throttle. You think back to years ago when Schumacher and Alonso had that battle, and Alonso passed Schumacher around 130R, just going absolutely flat out. And now they can't even go around on throttle because they've got to save up enough charge. There's been a lot of talk about potential changes during the season to reduce or to change the 50-50 split. After this, I mean, we've seen our first sort of we've seen cars not start the races this year because of issues with these power units. We've seen retirements in the race with the same thing. But it's the first time we've seen a big crash directly caused by these regulations. Has the FIA got to, we've got a bit of time now, it's in the next race, have they got to step in and sort of see how they go forward from here? Do they need to make any changes? Is it a bit of a knee-jerk reaction?
Without doing anything crazy, I don't see how they're going to make anything better. Because by doing some pathetic, like with the qualifying, you can only do 8 megajoules rather than the 9 or whatever the stupid figures were that made really barely any difference at all. Yeah, without seriously increasing fuel flow rates and boosts to get more performance from the engine to take the onus off the battery and the electric motor, then I just don't see how it's going to be improved.
No, unless they can reduce.
Think of improving it. Sorry, go on.
No, if they got to reduce the battery dependency, haven't they? Effectively, they've got to increase how much more combustion engine you have. But I don't know how easy that is. I mean, they've got the ADUO or whatever it is they can. But currently, I think Ferrari are going to use to improve their engine. I'd be surprised if these engines are being used in 2 years' time. Massively, I think they'll overhaul these completely. By the end of the year, there'll be a new thing out for 2028. I think 2026 and 2027. are probably going to be these engines in some iteration because it's too short to turn them around. But obviously 2028, I mean, people like Audi, Ferrari, Mercedes can all build a V8 within 2 years, I would have thought.
That's where, just even for next season, even if you said now, right, for next season, we'll increase the fuel flow rate and increase the boost and things, then surely that's not going to affect the teams too heavily.
Yeah, they got to just reduce.
They can make, which will make the world of difference.
Yeah, they got to reduce the dependency on that battery and stop the clipping and taking the fun out of it.
You almost, because now the engine's down to, isn't it below the 500? Aren't we down to 400 and something? Because the fuel flow was changed onto energy per race, not an actual flow as such. So it went down less, and then there was more on the electric motor. But
I got no issue with lifting and coasting into corners to recharge a battery. That I kind of don't mind. It's when you're going around your 130 Rs, your puons and things like that, and you sound like you're just dawdling around.
Well, when you've lost 500 horsepower of the electric motor, you are running on, like I say, 407 horsepower.
That's the thing. I don't mind you going to, I don't know, low hairpin when you lift off 30 meters earlier because you need to charge your battery. That's all right because you stop it anyway. But it's these fast flowing corners that you're lifting off halfway through the middle of because you're not lifting off. Just the engine is just clipping, and it's just like, well, what's the point?
They sell this formula
I
as
think
a high performance.
Take the battery out of the cars and put them in the bin.
They sell this formula as 1,000 horsepower and high performance when really it's 1,000 horsepower for, I don't know, 8 seconds a lap.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. They've got to be careful. Viewership is already down. I read a stat that in Spain, it's 60% or something was the last race was down in viewership to this time last year. Yes, we have got some overtaking, which...
Is that potentially due to Spanish drivers driving absolute shitboxes?
Yeah, but we had 2 overtakes in one little clip I saw of Max Verstappen in 130R going round and then come out of the chicane, and then because he went too fast through 130, he just got done down the straight.
But that's what we said earlier, Neil. It's like that's the fact is the matter is you can't overtake one. You overtake one, and then as soon as you get the second straight, you get overtaken back because you've lost all your power. Rather than it just becomes a boring yo-yo, really, doesn't it? It's not real. It's not through talent or through anything else. It's through how much battery you have left.
I don't think there's anything wrong as such with the rest of the car rules and the whole.
I think the chassis are decent. I actually think the aerodynamic on the chassis are decent.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. It's purely
everybody's following, aren't they? Everybody's following okay. Piastri, the 2 Ferraris, and Russell were all within 5-6 seconds of each other the whole race virtually.
And I actually think that not called DRS anymore, but the front and rear, slip, easily slip through the air mode I think we should have had it for years, really. I don't know why. It's such a good idea for energy efficiency down the straights, removing that drag. I don't know why they haven't wanted it before.
All right.
Now that's the frustrating thing. You've got probably the cleverest, or they are the cleverest cars we've ever had in Formula One. You've got the active aero. The chassis are brilliant. Apart from a couple of standout examples, the teams have developed a pretty good car. I mean, the blue and white team, they're not too good, and the Aston Martin, which has gone too radical, and most likely the Cadillac. But apart from a few teams, then there's good chassis up and down the grid, and they're so clever, but they're being really held back by these stupid power units. You can't see what the car can really do, what the chassis could really do, because drivers are having to lift and coast through corners which were previously flat. And the frustrating thing is F1 will post on Twitter and social media about how there was like 120 overtakes. And yeah, great, but that's because it was the same drivers just doing that throughout the entire race. One was quick here, another was quick there, because the other one had run out of charge.
But also, we're, as a viewer, we're not getting the full picture. So we're seeing these cars, overtaken through battery or whatever, but we're not seeing how much battery is being deployed. Sometimes they do keep some things hidden, especially in qualifying, of what's being used, what's being shown. They don't show the full picture, so you don't even know sometimes. Was it overtake by braking? Was it overtake by boost? Was it overtake by the fact that the car in front had no charge?
I think there is a little bit of back covering with the disappointment of these power units. And that's the thing.
That's why they're hiding it, is because they don't want to show, especially through 130R, they don't want to show that you're losing 50 kilometres through the fastest part of the circuit.
No. These
watching Kimi Antonelli's pole lap, and they cut before he got to 130R.
Yeah, they didn't want to show the super clipping down the end of that straight. There was the bit before you go through the tunnel. There's the bit through there, which is normally really difficult. But they ended up saying that because of the clipping, you could just take it so much easier now.
Oh, well, I was watching a video about the Degners. Yeah. Actually, you were quicker going through the Degners if you didn't actually go on throttle after Degner 1. You used the between Degner 1 and Degner 2 to recharge your battery. You were quicker.
Was that the bit where, was it Lewis or someone said you had to use 15% less throttle to go faster?
I don't know. I was watching it, and the fact that Max wasn't using that bit to recharge his battery, and that was where he was losing more time than anybody else, was because he wasn't recharging what you do.
Yeah,
as a racing driver, you go on the throttle. And then Charles Leclerc saying he hates these rules because he was, quick through the corners, but he had nothing on the straights. And it's rubbish. Oh, Metal James, good evening, welcome in. Presume you've seen the video of Darnell Furlong correctly guessing the F1 circuit by listening to the engine from the onboard microphone. That was cool. If that was genuine, that was awesome. It was a good video. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Yeah, it goes against everything that comes natural to a driver, doesn't it? I'm qualifying. I need to be on throttle as much as I can. I need to squeeze everything out of this car. I'm not like, I need to go carefully in this bit, because if not, I'm too slow. It goes against a racing driver's natural instincts. There's no wonder drivers like Lando and Max have been so vocal and so critical about it.
The only problem
Leclerc as well. It's
if we wanted to talk about what engines we think would be better, I know V8 gets mentioned all the time, which I think is a closer possibility, but it really, if I'm honest, everyone is crying for the V10s. That's never going to happen. We're never going back to a V10, but they are the sound that...
I just want an engine, mate. I'm not really fussed what it comes in now. Got to the point where I'll take anything. I'll take a two-stroke.
Well, to be fair, there are some good technologies in two-stroke.
50cc Formula One, and the Aston Martins are still slower. Get rid of the battery, get rid of all that bollocks. Stick a naturally aspirated V8, V10, V12, V6. I don't care. Fully synthetic fuel. Jobs are good. You get rid of all the hybrid and all the recharge rubbish. Just rely on engine power, technological genius on the chassis, and the driver's ability. That's all you need. You don't need all this hybrid recharging crap. Save that for Formula E and for other disciplines. It's not part of Formula One. So that's since 2014.
F1 should be pioneering sustainable fuel engines, in my opinion. Not electric, not the electric part being part of it, because that's what Formula E is there for. A sustainable, because there's going to not every vehicle is going to be electric in the coming years, because it's not viable. So a sustainable combustion engine with sustainable fuel that can it's 22 cars 24 times a year. that's how much fuel they need really to make just for that. You know, that engine doesn't have to be put into a Renault 5, does it? So
I sort of agree and I disagree. I watched something the other day, and the whole green thing obviously is within Formula One makes no sense. The teams don't need to be green because I think I worked out that with the emissions of flying the planes, the whole cargo and everything around the world as they do, it was good for a good 12 seasons of F1 racing. So, you know, that it's not even comparison, is it really? But it's down
actual CO2 emissions, I think, on F1 cars minimal compared to a lot of things.
It is, but so that's not got anything to do with it. That's sort of, you know, anyone can clearly see that. But where it does come down to is the teams having to budget. So Renault have got to say, oh, we've got to cough up this much $1 million each season and validate why. And they obviously need something to go back to their road cars. Or the people who
they've already checked out, haven't they? That's the thing. So they've given up on the engine. So they voted for this bloody engine and then bailed at the last minute. It's only really Audi obviously came in because of the engine. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull really would be in it irrelevant of whether it was hybrid or not, or 50% electric. They'd be in it anyway. So
it's just an outside looking in. It's easier to sell a hybrid formula than it is to go, right, these engines now drink like absolute fishers again. And
to be fair, the last iteration engine, it was a hybrid. That was fine.
The V8, yeah. I know people have complained and said, "Oh, yeah,
it's the over dependency on the battery that's the problem."
But under the V8, we didn't have refueling, did we?
We are at the no. Go back to V8. Just put V8 in the car. But there we go. That is us at the end of our little pit stop this week. So we shall be back next week, of course. There's obviously no Formula One for I think it's about 3.5 years. It's going to feel like, but at least we get Miami at the end of this break. Ahead of another 3 weeks off, so every glad. But thank you very, very much for watching. We shall see you next week. We'll see if any news comes out. We'll keep an eye on when the FIA and whoever else in the governing body and whatnot decide to do anything about these power units. But there we go. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. We shall see you then. I've been Steve. He's been Chris. Hand somewhere. It's Chris and Neil. We'll see you next week. Cheers.